Next, I want to demonstrate how to use the aid in order to play cards. First, we need to make sure we're logged into the spreadsheet. Currently, I'm logged in as a USSR player named Elmer Fudd. Next, there is an option, and I just want to tell you that I have enabled card management during the initial setup of the spreadsheet. However, at any time, if you wanted to, you could actually disable card management by unchecking the Deal Cards button, and then you would use your external card tracker or just when you're playing the game in a sit-down game. In most cases, once you select the option to use card management or not to use it, you wouldn't change it, but it is here if you need it. In this case, I'm just going to click no on this and ensure card management is enabled. First we need to do is deal the cards, and so we go to the Played Cards worksheet and click the Deal Cards button. It's that simple. Say yes here and it will indicate the cards have been dealt. Click OK on that. Now, because I'm logged in as a USSR player, I can now click the card hand and it will show me the cards only for that player. So I click the card and here are the cards in that player's hand. I'll just do a brief overview of the card hand. We have the card hand number here. These numbers can be clicked in order to play the cards directly from your card hand to the Play Cards worksheet. Also, the numbers are highlighted in a particular color. For instance, black if the card is removed from play if the event is used, and for other cards that have persistent events that affect the game throughout gameplay, they're highlighted in green. Next, we have the actual card number, its name, its operations points, and the event text. In the event you can't see all the text, you can click in the box and scroll through to see it all. Next, the card hand is where you actually perform your card hand actions. In the event that a card is affecting a particular player and there are card actions that need to be performed, such as taking from a draw pile, taking from the remove pile, giving a random card, discarding random cards, revealing cards, so on and so forth, you can actually select the particular card that's currently in effect, and it will actually, when you select it, populate step 2 and step 3 with the appropriate options. Or in the case of step 3, you'll need to select some further information. Also, if you want to perform actions independent of a specific card, you can certainly do that by, under step 2, performing different things like selecting the headline card, etc., as I've described before. I'll use an example of just selecting the headline card. By selecting step 2, in order to select a headline card, I need to select one from my hand, and that's what we will see under step 3 in the drop-down list. In this case, I would then select the particular card that I wanted to use as a headline card. Before I do that, I want to just show the other aspects of the card hand. The status of the China card is shown here. Also, there's some card statistics, how many cards in the draw pile, etc., as well as whether we're playing with optional cards. So we'll carry on here with our selecting a headline card. Typically that's the first action that's performed at the beginning of a turn. So I will select headline card and I am going to select the Cambridge 5 card. I'll click go and now we see that the headline card for the USSR has been done or selected. If I cancel here, we also note on the main game board, or map board rather, that the USSR player has selected their headline card. As you know, with the rules for Twilight Struggle, both players need to select a headline card, and then one of the players will play the card depending on the ops value of the card. So at this point, having selected the headline card, I would actually then send the spreadsheet, if I was doing Peb and Play, to the other player. Or in the case of playing a sit-down game, I could then switch the player using the Switch Player button. I'll demonstrate that quickly. By clicking the Switch Player button, I can then select the other player. I've already entered the player's details in there, and I'll click OK. You'll notice then this player is now highlighted, and when I click the card hand, I'm looking at the other player's card hand. However, I'm just going to switch back to our previous player here. If you were doing Peb and Play, at this point you would just close the spreadsheet by clicking the top right X button. It will prompt to close it. I will go yes. It actually logs the spreadsheet out. We don't want to send in a logged in spreadsheet to the opponent who could then look at your card hand. Click OK on that. At this point it prompts to add it to a compressed file. This is simply a zip file that the file will be added to, and then it can be attached to an email. I'll say yes. Lastly, if you had entered in the email addresses, both for the opponent having entered it and yourself, you could then send the email and have it automatically, the spreadsheet automatically attached to an email and sent to the opponent. In this case, I'm not going to demonstrate this and click No. Here it shows that it saved it and in which folder it saved it to. Now I can look at that folder, and if I just sort it by date, here's the zip file that's created. I could then attach that to an email. I'm not going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to open the spreadsheet again. Alright, so make sure macros are enabled always. Click No on that option, and we have to log in again. You always have to log in when you load the spreadsheet to indicate who will be the player that will be doing actions. In this case, we want to do the US. They still need to select their headline card. There's also a little quote here. We'll go into the card hand, and now the US player needs to select their headline card. Looking through the options here, I'm not going to be too strategic or anything. I'll just say we're going to play number 4, East European Unrest. I'll select that card and click Go. Now we get a pop-up saying that the game log has been updated with the cards that need to be played. I'm just going to click off that, and you'll notice that both the cards here are showing that they're done, that they've been selected. Lastly, on the headline track, it'll show that the cards are selected and that the US player needs to go first but has not played that card yet. So we will go ahead and do that. Also demonstrating the game log, and this is where we would actually find out what cards would need to be played. So here, if I highlight this section, it shows that the US resolves their card first, East European Unrest, and then the Cambridge 5 for the USSR player. So I will go into the US player's card hand, and now we're going to play this card directly to the played card worksheet. I'll click the number 4 card button, which corresponds to that card, answer the prompts to go ahead and add it to the played cards worksheet, and now it takes us to that worksheet, and it has entered the card in there. It indicates it is an event that's played because it's a headline. It automatically enters that for you. Next, the player would resolve that card. That will be a particular tutorial as far as performing events and operations that will follow after this one. So that will assume the player has resolved the card, and now we need to go into the other player's card, the USSR, and play their card, their headline card, which was the Cambridge 5. Now I want to demonstrate here for players that are doing a sit-down game or using an external card tracking system. You wouldn't be using the card hand because you would be doing that with the actual method that you're using. So in the case of that situation, you can actually enter these cards manually into the played cards worksheet. So in this case, I would just go into the card number field and type the card number, and it will automatically enter that card into the sheet with all the particular information. So now the Cambridge 5 card has been played, and this affects the US player. Again, the flow of the game is perform your actions, close out and save the spreadsheet, and send it on to your player. Or again, if you're sitting down, you would just switch between the players using the switch player button. And that's what I'm going to do here. So we'll go back into the US player, and now I want to demonstrate the card actions. The US player is currently affected by the Cambridge 5 and needs to reveal if they have any scoring cards. So the player needs to go into the card action and select that particular card, and you'll notice it automatically populated both the reveal cards and scoring cards items here. Again, I could have just selected those myself, but it's kind of handy. It gives you an idea of how to proceed when a card is in play. I'll click Go on that, and it indicates to look at the game log. Cancel out here, and we can see that the US player had no scoring cards, which would be revealed to the USSR player. That pretty much covers off the card hand. You can also click the current card, and it will show what card is currently in play. This can also be done by scrolling down on the map board under this particular section here. It shows the player that's currently in play, as well as whether the card is being played for event or operations. This button corresponds to the same button in the card hand. Lastly, you can look at the events that are in effect. Now, we don't actually have any that are in effect right now. They would be highlighted in green here under the appropriate section. And the nice thing about the spreadsheet is it will track and prevent you from doing actions for cards that restrict particular actions. Lastly, there's an option called Removed Cards here that you can click. Unfortunately, there weren't any cards that we played that would be removed. If they were, it would show in a black background here. But this will allow you to keep track of what cards are currently in the deck that haven't been removed as a result of playing as an event. This pretty much sums up how to play cards using the player's aid. I hope you've enjoyed it, and please feel free to move on to the next tutorial on performing events and operations. Cheers and God bless.